Order. We start with item 17, Community Self-Help Policy Revision and Request for Fund Transfer. Mr. Jeff Diggets.
Adjourning at 1:30, right? So I've got half an hour.
Speak slowly.
Speak slowly.
Would be Commissioner Weaver's choice.
Right. 5 minutes, Jeff, and then you're out of here.
I'll try to beat that. Good afternoon. Back on October 11th, I brought self-help requests and requests for budget transfers to the board. We addressed all but two of those. Two of the projects, you requested that I go back to the advisory board, discuss them with the board, also look at the self-help guidelines, see if any changes needed to be made to them. One of those projects was wrestling mats. The other project was a basketball rebounding machine. In talking with the advisory board, they were trying to find an equitable way to address this, and basically they looked at this gray area that exists between program expenses and capital expenses. And we buy a lot of ball mix, sod, backstop, fencing, backboards, a lot of things that are related to playing fields or courts or surfaces. And in looking at it that way, they looked at the wrestling mats as being something that would fall into that category. When they looked at the rebounding machine, they looked at that as being more of a coach's tool and program equipment, and even though it has a big price tag, they elected to rescind their recommendation of that. So I'm here before you today requesting a budget transfer for one project, and that is the wrestling mats. And also as a side note, there have been wrestling mats purchased through the self-help program before for different rec councils. Westminster Area Rec Council went into this, I think in good faith, seeing that others have done it before and they were looking to get the same benefits. I was happy to answer any questions that you have.
Totally not fair. What are the chances the president of our board would let you not get wrestling mats? I just feel like this is just a slanted.
I had nothing to do with this decision.
You know, I mean, we can go through the motion.
But that Christmas bonus was.
I think he should recuse himself.
Could he recuse himself because he wrestled? That'd be all right.
All right. Any serious questions?
None.
All right.
Mr. President, I'll move that we approve the transfer of $63.75 from the Community Self-Help to WARC Winners Mill Wrestling Mats Self-Help Project account to be established by the Department of Management and Budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, since I'm still within my 5 minutes, I think, thank you to Commissioner Howard and Commissioner Rothschild. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last 8 years. Appreciate all of your support.
You've done a great job, Jeff.
You did a
What
great
does that
job.
word pleasure mean?
And we love Crimgold Park. We use it weekly. Maybe one of these days I'll buy a bench for it.
There you go.
All right. He'll take your donation.
I figured if I put it in while I was still in office, somebody would probably come by, you know, and vandalize it. But
You might want to wait a year or
Say,
so.
He
Yeah.
puts it in while I'm in office.
maybe I
let me
could
know.
change my name. Maybe I could change my name and put it in, you know. It's an
Thank you very much.
ex-commissioner.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, next item is request approval to submit application for Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act. Christine Kay, I don't see Celine, but Gina Valentine.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Commissioners, the Maryland Department of Aging receives Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers funding from the Administration for Community Living. The grant will enhance outreach efforts and activities that promote enrollment of Medicare beneficiaries in several Medicare programs. We're seeking approval for the grant submission today and acceptance of the award from September 30th, 2018 to September 29th, 2019. And Gina will give you some statistics on the program.
Good afternoon. We will focus on several activities within the MIPA grants, and just wanted to give you some information on that. Program staff and volunteers will perform outreach and education in subsidized housing communities throughout the county to educate people about the Medicare savings programs and provide them with application assistance. The staff and volunteers will also provide workshops called Transitioning to Medicare Part 1 and Transitioning to Medicare Part 2. And they're offered at the Carroll County Public Libraries. Individuals will also be targeted through mailings which are sent to individuals who are aging into Medicare. Screening and outreach is also provided in partnership with the Seniors Farmers Market voucher ticket program, and outreach is also performed to individuals under the age of 65 with disabilities. In the 2017 and 2018 program year, we served 1,194 individuals who attended workshops, presentations, and open enrollment events. 300 people at the Seniors on the Go Expo and fairs, and the media outreach, which is mailings, 2,200 individuals. The budget for this program is a total of $7,539, which the monies will be used on staffing, $5,919, marketing, $1,000, printing and supplies, $100, training, $140, travel expenses, $200, and other costs, $180. Again, for a total of $7,539. And there's no county cash match required. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
I'll move that the Board of Commissioners approve the Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act grant submission and acceptance of the award.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move on to Mount Airy Annexation Number 42, Dorseytown, with Linda Eisenberg and Claire Stewart.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
We're here today for the discussion and decision on the Mount Airy Annexation Number 42, Dorseytown. With me today is Comprehensive Planner Claire Stewart, and also I believe is the attorney for the petitioner of the annexation as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Claire to kind of review with you what we discussed on November 15th, the snow day.
Good afternoon. I have
Good
a
afternoon.
brief overview for you. I have a zoning map of the area right here. The parcel to be annexed, or the parcels to be annexed, are outlined in blue. The black dashed line is the corporate limits, and then the yellow and black dashed line is the municipal growth area. The requested annexation is 20 parcels totaling 12.6 acres. In the 2013 Town of Mount Airy Comprehensive Master Plan, the land use designation is low density residential. The county zoning is R40,000 residential zoning district. The town is proposing R2 residential zoning, which is 1 unit per 16,000 square feet. The town is requesting a zoning waiver. And the action today is to sign a comment letter, and we're asking that you approve the zoning waiver with the following 2 conditions. Mount Airy takes over ownership and maintenance of Ellis Road from Maryland 808A North Main Street to the end of county maintenance. And the second, water and sewer service is not required by the county upon annexation.
Any questions?
Just as one clarification, and I take that to mean the water and sewer source not required, is that when they run, if and when they run it past there, it will not be required either.
I don't believe we can make that determination for the town, because it'll be annexed into the town. We'll have to follow their county code, their town code.
But my guess is what that means is we're not going to have to provide it. If the town provides
Correct.
it themselves, that's up to them.
Correct.
Because then it'd be annexed in within the
That's not
town.
your concern,
No.
though.
No, I know, but
Okay.
that's what I think that's what I think that means when I heard that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I think you're right, but I want to be clear that for me to vote for this, I want to make sure we don't inadvertently trigger a requirement the existing homeowners that have well and septic on that road and force them to incur the expense of hooking up.
We can't make policy for the town, so it would have to follow whatever the town's policy is with regards to water and sewer lines, fronting a community. I know in our county code, if we extend a water and sewer line in front of your house and you do not have it, you have to hook up. That's part of what our
Well,
code is. And so they would have to follow the town's local law and ordinances.
I would say that if one of us makes a motion, I would make the motion to allow this with the understanding that the town will not require the existing homeowners to hook up.
Do we know if that's the town's policy?
I'm not sure John Breeding's.
The representative from the town is not here. We were hoping they could answer that question. I don't know if the attorney can answer that for the property.
Sure.
Sure, up to the microphone.
Go to Mike.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Noel Manalo, Law Offices of Miles and Stockford, here on behalf of the petitioners. Staff is correct that the town does enforce their own policy. Part of our proposal, again, we represent a group of the petitioners, including one that will develop the undeveloped portion. And we have proffered where existing residents, if they so desire, then we will, the developer of the undeveloped portion will pay for those connection fees. So it really will be up to the town. I know there is clearly a policy that they will have to enforce. Whether or not they can modify that in their annexation resolution, I'm unclear. But the ordinance, as I read it, is that if the town, if you are within the corporate limits, there's a connection.
Well, in my position, I must be very clear, is that we decide whether we're going to allow this annexation, and I believe we should only vote for the annexation with the provision that the town will not force the existing homeowners on Main Street to hook up.
But I want to make sure.
I'm going to vote against it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
I want to make sure I understand what you said. You're saying if they are required to connect, the developer would pay for the connections?
That's part of the proffer for this entire annexation request. Yeah.
Well,
So it will cost them anything.
I'll be willing to include that in the motion. Either A, not require them to hook up, or B, if they do require them to hook up, then there's done with the understanding that it will only happen if the developer pays for it. But I'm not going to put these homeowners in a position where they get whacked. $20,000 a pop.
Is this adjacent to the water system right now? In other words, is there anybody else that would be in between that would not be part of the annexation but then would be passed by the water system? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know where the line work is? Do you have those water and sewer map on here?
Because you're talking about
No, I
people
don't.
within the, you're talking about people within this
So
plan,
we know that is
right?
on water
But
and sewer.
but if we pass
This
3
is-
houses to
yeah.
get to where you are,
Mhm.
that would be a concern also.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
There's
saying,
al-
Doug.
And the town already does serve
Mhm.
properties within this enclave by MDE
Okay.
consent order. So the town is actually already serving properties that are, I guess, county properties in this instance. So, but those properties are included in the annexation area.
And also, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we can't deny the annexation, but the action that the board can take is the comment letter, and then you do issue the zoning waiver, and that is the action that.
All right, well, I'm gonna be so bold as to make a motion that hopefully it'll be acceptable to my board. I'm gonna move that the board approves signing forward the comment letter and the requested zoning waiver to the town of Mount Airy regarding annexation number 42, Dorseytown, with the following conditions. Number 1, Mount Airy takes over ownership and maintenance of Ellis Road from Maryland 808, i.e. North Main Street, to the end of county maintenance. Number 2, water and sewer service is not required by the county upon annexation. I don't even know what that means. Number 3, that that we will agree to this new zoning, providing, number 1, that the town agrees they will not force existing homeowners who are well and septic to hook up. But if they do try to force the existing homeowners to hook up, then they would do so with the understanding that it is the developer that must pay the cost of those hookups.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion. I'm a little concerned about the wording.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see, my opinion, how we can tell the town of Mount Airy what they can and can't do within their codes. I would be comfortable with that motion if the part, if you put took the part out about that the town can't require them to hook up. I don't think
But that's the part he likes.
But
that's the
But
problem.
let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
But if you had the part in there that says, with the understanding that the developer will pay for the hookups of the people within the parcel that's being annexed. Because developer said they were,
If they're required.
right, because
Okay.
developer said that they would do that. Just put that in
But
our.
does that satisfy the concern that there could be any others, or that we just don't think there are any others?
Well, if there's already water and sewer to some of those in there, my guess is their septic failed, and because of the size of the lots, water and sewer had to be included because it's the town. Therefore, the pipes are already there, so they're not gonna run by any additional
Well, but if
property.
But if that's the case, why wouldn't people in between already have to have connected then?
I don't know.
Many times this may be a
What?
I got a
No, but someone must, though. I mean, if we had to go into that development and someone's already got it and we go past homes, that are not on it.
John came in.
Well, they're not in the town, though. You see, that's the thing. Even though it's past them, since they're not in the town, they're not impacted by the town tourism. I've gotten one call from some people who were concerned about that. And it
Gotcha,
can be very
okay.
expensive, $20,000.
I see what you're saying. Okay, okay.
So-
And the opposite
Yeah.
may be true
And-
too.
and- Go ahead, Dick.
There may be people who, their septic does fail, they have nowhere to put it up, they may want to hook up.
And that's true,
And
too.
they should have the option to hook up
Sure.
if they're,
Well, they
if
always
they're.
will. Sure.
Could we just reflect that in the language? Could we say something like, you know, we support the annexation, however, our support is contingent on the fact that no one would be required to hook up at their own expense. And if that's not the case, our support would be otherwise.
That's fine, as long as there's something, remember, Commissioner Frazier, these are our constituents right now that are gonna see their jurisdiction change, and in the process of the handoff, I wanna protect them.
Well, I
But that's okay, your
I
language is good.
feel-
I'm good
I
with your
just,
language.
I just like the language, my preferred better word says the developer has agreed to put up will agree to pay for any connections for the water and sewer.
Well, I think it should say it is our understanding, and we have.
Yeah,
I
okay,
mean-
it's our
I mean,
understanding
not
that
to
developer
question
will
you, but
pay
I mean,
for
we
that.
haven't,
Yeah.
we haven't vetted that whole process either.
All right, then I would be okay with the language that is our understanding the developer will pay for hookups of water and sewer within the annexation area. So easy to say. God, I can't talk today.
Jeff, do you have something?
Jeff, go ahead.
I just want to make a suggestion, if on the county's operated systems, our ordinance, the county's ordinance is if the water sewer lines are installed where it passes any property, every property owner is required to connect. But the system down in Mount Airy is run and operated, whether it's in the town limits or in the county at that point, but it's the town of Mount Airy's water and sewer system. I'm not sure what the ordinance says, so just as you're coming up with your wording, our ordinance requires that if it passes, Commissioner Howard, you mentioned that they're not required to, our ordinance requires in county, for our operated systems, they would be required to connect. Mount Airy, I'm not sure if they follow our ordinance or they have their own, so just providing a suggestion, so keep it all legal for them too.
So I'm good with the language proffered by Commissioner Howard and Commissioner Frazier. Let me see if I can repeat it back.
Okay.
For the final bullet, we
So did you actually have a motion or no? Well, you did. You wanna just rescind that motion?
So I'll amend the motion with the
Okay.
final
Why
bullet.
don't you just
says-
rescind it? I'll rescind my second, that way you can start from
All right.
scratch.
So
Okay.
we're gonna move that the board approve, sign, and forward the comment letter and requested zoning waiver to the town of Mount Airy regarding annexation number 42 Dorsey Town with the following conditions. Number one, Mount Airy takes over ownership and maintenance of Ellis Road from MD 808 North Main Street to the end of county maintenance. And then I'm just gonna say number two, we are approving this annexation with the understanding that the town, in the event the town requires any of the existing homeowners to hook up to water and sewer, that those connection fees will be paid by the developer of this property.
All right, I'll second that.
Now,
You're approving the zoning waiver, right?
Yes.
That's your leverage. I mean, if
okay,
they wanna
the zone,
reduce-
then I'll amend to say that the zoning waiver is being approved only with the understanding that they will, that in the event they require a hookup, then it will be paid by the developer. I don't know how else to word this, I'm trying to be
I
respectful.
think that's.
Well, hang on a second. I wanna make sure we're clear on what we're doing. Yeah, I can imagine. So the motion says that
Okay.
that the board approves, sign, and forward the comment letter and the requested zoning waiver. Those are two different things, aren't they? I mean, I understand they're linked, but one's a letter and one's an actual waiver. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we approving the waiver regardless of what the feedback on this information is, or?
No, it's contingent upon, I would say that
Okay.
if we're gonna give them that density, we wanna make sure those other property owners are
and so
protected. Because without the density, the existing zoning will allow them to stay at 1 acre where they can still have well and septic.
Okay, so to that end, Mr. Burke, are you comfortable with us passing a contingent zoning waiver? Or should we send the comment letter and get some feedback, or should we just you look like you have Excedrin headache number 7.
It's Rothschild doing it again.
Yeah, but for the last time, so what the heck, right?
What do you think, Linda? Are they, what you're doing is waiving the zoning, but tacking conditions on it, and they may look at that and say, well, they're not waiving the zoning, they're making us do other stuff. So normally a zoning waiver is yes, no. Here you're
That's what I'm saying. I think
yes,
those are
but.
two different functions that were.
Do you think it would behoove us to go back to the town and ask it?
I mean, I think we could sign the support letter contingent on, right?
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, I think it would be an
Attorney.
agreement between the town and the developer, and then the town to enforce.
If
Sure.
I might, Mr. Chairman, as a suggestion, certainly it's the town's process at this point. So if you were to just send the comment letter, I mean, at this point, I feel like there's still enough for them to consider the annexation petition, and then, you know, were the petition to be successful. I have seen it in other jurisdictions where we're going to Frederick County, for instance, for the zoning waiver after the fact. So I might offer that as another option.
But I definitely think they're two separate
Thank you.
actions. So I think,
Yeah.
Commissioner Rothschild, if we can get the language that you're comfortable with the letter, and let the letter go and then come back, you know, assuming that's acceptable, then, you know, then there's a zoning waiver to follow.
Well, I mean, I would feel better doing it today simply with the contingency because the
Because you're not gonna be you next
I'm
week.
not gonna be here, I'm not gonna be here, and I'm not sure my replacement understands these issues.
Is it 3:30 yet?
The town meets on Monday regarding this issue.
I'm sorry?
The town meets on Monday regarding this issue.
So we could convene like a midnight session? No, do I have to hold on, do I have to hold on to my farewell comments then? Is that?
Send the letter to.
Yeah, like 20 pages.
It's
All right, so you suggest we only approve the annexation, but not the waiver for the zoning today? is
I'm
that-
saying we sign the support letter with the
Support letter.
contingent language that you want in it,
Yes.
and then hold on to the zoning waiver.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
so, okay, so we try that over again? All right, so.
Motion number 5.
Motion number 5. I move the board approve, sign, and forward the comment letter to the town of Mount Airy regarding annexation number 42, Dorseytown, with the following conditions. The Mount Airy takes over ownership and maintenance of Ellis Road from Maryland 808, North Main Street to the end of county maintenance, and with the understanding that in the event they should require any existing homeowners to hook up, that those hookups will be paid. Those connection fees will be paid by the developer, not by those handful of homeowners that would be impacted. Okay, that would be my, and then, I'll continue, and then once we have that confirmation, they will bring it back to the Board of Commissioners. At that point in time, we would support the zoning waiver, once we have confirmation on the hookup issue.
Yes, okay, that's good.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay.
And that gives them fair warning and heads up as to what the,
Well, that's right. We're
Expectation
not just
is-
stalling their process. They
Right.
know where we stand,
Right.
so that's good.
Okay, but I do have one question about the wording now. If you're saying that, not just because it's a different board then, you're saying that if it comes back to us, that the new board's going to support the zoning waiver. We don't actually know that.
Well, then it will come back to us for final consideration.
Okay.
okay.
It will come back to us
Yeah.
for final consideration, but only after we have that information, because quite frankly,
I agree, I agree.
If they're gonna do this and then some developer does well, but 5 homeowners get hit with $20,000 fees, I would never support that. That's unfair to them.
No, that's
These are not
fair.
rich people.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's,
No, that's definitely fair.
Okay, so we had that motion. Do you have that down?
Doug second.
I second
And a
it.
second. Okay. Any further discussion?
I hope not.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's
Thank
quick
you.
and easy,
Thank
wasn't
you.
it?
But
That was quick, yeah.
gentlemen,
Good luck with this.
This discussion we had, this was good. This shows how sometimes drilling deeper into a topic and looking at the nuances can really have a real effect on people's lives. This could really
That's true.
hurt some people. So it's good to have this kind of discussion. This kind of intellectual banter is positive.
Once every 4 years, you come up with something really good.
There you go. See that? Even the blind squirrel gets an acorn once in a while.
Are you, whoa. Did you just quote Delegate Shoemaker? Is that what you?
No, did he say
I was
that?
gonna say, I thought you were leaving on a high note.
Oh, no, I take it back.
That's a
If
shoemakerism.
Haven said it,
Great.
if Haven said it, I retract it.
Okay, all right. Jeez.
Okay. Next item, County Commissioner items. Commissioner Howard, Veterans Advisory Council and Veterans Shuttle.
So it's my,
Just to dis- go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, it's my understanding that these were put on the agenda before we knew that, well, before the discussion we had on the 27th, and also before the discussion, well, before we were interrupted by snow. I know Commissioner Wance expressed the interest in being able to weigh in, which is fine. So I think if it's okay, I'm just going to paraphrase what those two are, and then we can leave them for any discussion you
Sure.
want to have, or just whatever. As it relates to the Veterans Advisory Council, as I mentioned the other day, it's an extraordinarily involved group. We have a very active group. When we came out of the gate, there were lots of things that we were working on. And right now, with the shuttle in place, with the service officers in place, with some of the outreach in place, we really have this group of folks that's very talented, very committed, and I think we need to give them some direction so that they stay committed and also so that we can move the needle forward. So my suggestion is the idea of having them put together some sort of a review or, a plan that looks at what services we offer, what services we think we need in the community, what things are being offered by communities around us, to give a little bit of direction, hopefully by the time prior to the budget, so that if there are discussion items to be had, they can be discussed. Commissioner Weaver, I know when we had the discussion Tuesday, you said, well, really, the first step would be to bring them in, let them present, and kind of see where they are.
Where they've been and where they are.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. You and I have been in a lot of those meetings, so we kind of know where they've been and where they are. So the only thing I would ask is that, at least when you have that discussion, that the suggestion gets made, that they take this opportunity to look forward and say, what next, in whatever form you do.
And I think they need that direction from this board a
Yes.
little bit, what we expect from them.
Yeah.
At least some ideas where to go. And one of our incoming commissioners has also been on that board.
Absolutely.
And so that gives some insight.
Yeah, and I think it would be easy to be very complacent or accepting of the fact that it's a commission that goes along very well, things are going very, certainly been very productive, but there's always more need, there's always more opportunity, and there are some things that I think could be looked at even regionally. I just think it's a good time to do that. And I know it's always concerning when you have a group like that and they maybe just don't have enough to sink their teeth into. As committed as they are, I want to make sure that that stays the case. I think there's some very important work being done there. I just don't want to see it lost in the shuffle. So if we can convey that, I think that's, sure. I don't think there's anything more that we need to do there at this point. And I know you guys said you were going to take that up when you have the chance to bring them in. Is that right?
Okay, yep.
Okay. The other consideration really related to the veteran shuttle, we provided some statistics, and I know you've talked about taking this up again, and that's fine because I wouldn't vote on it anyhow. And Lord knows Commissioner Wentz loves to buy a vehicle, so so that bodes well for the idea. The simple fact is, we are servicing quite a few folks. It's growing. There's a number of folks that are really relying on it, and our direction really at the time was just do whatever you have to make sure the folks are taken care of. Don't leave anybody behind. Don't turn anybody down. And that was a great sentiment up to a certain point. But now I think the evolution of things are, we've seen where it's gone. We've seen the demand. We know there's probably going to be more the more outreach we do. And so it's time to kind of take a step back and say, let's put some structure to it. So the two thoughts are, one of which is we already know we're on track to be short of funding this year based on the trend that we have by about $40,000. So there's no question or concerns about it, even though I know it's out of the budget cycle. I'd like to see us take action, or you as early into the next board take action to bridge that gap. But also that will allow the folks that are doing it to be able to plan accordingly, whether it's a specific driver, a designated driver for that program, or whatever it might be.
Can we cap that at a number?
Well, we can. The problem is, or not the problem, I guess the question I would ask is, when you get a call from that constituent and then they're in your district and they say, I just tried to call the veteran shuttle and they told me I was the 201st passenger and you capped it at 200, my suspicion is your next call will be...
Not the passenger, the dollars allocated
well,
to
either way. Yeah, I mean, either way, you're going to run up to that point where you're just going to say... Right. And so, again, it's hard, and I agree we want to have... I think right now, given the order of magnitude, I mean, we're still spending relatively little for what we're getting out of this.
Exactly.
And so I would be comfortable going forward saying, we still have enough room there that it's not getting outrageous. But I think the reality is, I believe if any of the five of us got that call, our next call would be to Roberta or Jeff Castingway or the transit folks to say, go pick up Mr. So-and-so. If we're going to pick up Mr. So-and-so anyhow, we ought to just plan to do it, right?
Maybe we ought to change budget allocations for next year
Well, yeah.
Well, I think
that's
that'll
gonna be the
happen too.
conversation,
Yeah. But I hate to see it lose steam midstream or
Right,
for
I
folks to
agree.
start getting concerned. The other thing is the idea of consideration of a bigger vehicle than what we're using, but a vehicle that's not as big as what we are using for other purposes, serves the dual purpose of we've got to create a route down there more so than, and get people more conditioned to scheduling at a particular time or within a range of times. It's just too hard to be going down and back with multiple folks and trying to get everybody fit those schedules. We're doing a good job of it, but at the end of the day, we need the combination of something that runs at a particular time that can be fed by other sources like the demand response, but also a vehicle that's not too big to actually get in and out of the facility.
Would the VA, and I don't know the answer to this question, would they do a block scheduling for Carroll County veterans? Is that possible? We can call and say, look, Thursday, whatever time, we're bringing Carroll County veterans down. Can you do a block scheduling?
I think when we first had the conversations, because it was so new and so sort of, vague in terms of what we were doing, I think the notion was we're willing to work with you, but we never got beyond what that might mean. Now, of course, you got to get individual citizens to kind of conform to that as well. But see, that's exactly the kind of thing, Commissioner Weaver, that Veterans Advisory Council, working with the transit folks or whatever, could put together or do some research into that. Let's find out. Let's find out.
Would solve some of the cost problem.
Yep.
And still provide the service for everybody in Carroll County.
Yeah.
And Martinsburg, West Virginia, the same thing. Can we schedule a block?
Yeah, all the places they go.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But I think we know from But I think we know from experience, it'll be easy for us to shuffle dollars if we need it. But I think we should plan ahead. More concerning is the ability to get a vehicle, get it on the road, get it lettered, takes a lot longer, I think, than a lot of times we think about. And so I would just ask for you guys to consider that as well, in whatever capacity you would.
Is that on a future agenda item? Or we have that down in the future for agenda? Because it should be. No, both things. Having the Veterans Advisory Council come before us and speak to us. Additionally, he's having talk about the shuttle.
We did talk about that on the 27th. Commissioner Howard may have said something further. I will remind you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So we need that on the agenda so it doesn't slip through.
Yeah, and as it relates to the shuttle, I think you really have two things. One is the supplemental funding, one is the
Right.
vehicle itself.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
You gonna come back on that day and present?
I am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna look forward to that.
Why not?
Well, I'm gonna look forward to Gavin, you.
Somebody from transportation can present.
Yes. And probably much more convincingly. So
All right. Is that it for that, Commissioner?
that's it for that.
Now we're gonna move on to closing remarks from Commissioner Howard.
Actually, you're going to move on to public
Oh,
comment
I'm sorry,
first? Yeah.
public comment, I did not know.
Commissioner Howard, before you start, this is my notebook. I only have one page left.
Well, we have public comment first.
Keep it down to 2 hours.
I will.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I've got too many notes. I get a little befuddled at times. Thank you. And again, thank you for your service, commissioners. In the morning session, I gave you kudos and lots of thanks. And so I just want to do that again. And but during the morning comment session, I did bring up another issue, and I was a little bit, confused about the response. So I just wanted to clarify and just to bring it up again, because I know with the mixture of a new board coming in and so many, different issues being brought up, sometimes things can get lost in the mix. So I went on and watched in the video archives. I watched and saw a public meeting session on zoning. I got this card in the mail quite some time ago on that there's going to be, zoning text and zoning map change in Carroll County. And I wasn't able to make it to the meeting, but I did watch it on video archive here just recently. And I had some questions because it said, what was said at the meeting was that the zoning text is going to go through the process. It's two-part process. First, the zoning text. That's going to go to public hearing and be adopted. And then after that's done, then the zoning map will go to public hearing and be adopted. And clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, that's what was said, I believe, at the meeting, if I'm not mistaken. And my thinking is why. I don't think that serves the public interest, because business, neighborhood retail, business general, the two commercial categories that we have now are going to be split into three, C1, C2, C3. So now you're going to have not just low density, high density, you're going to have very low, very high, and then everything in the middle is going to have so what's going to happen is we go to public hearing and say, these new categories sound great. Wow, this is so intelligent. This is brilliant. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's adopt it. That's what the public may say. I might, right? But then now that's all done, and now we bring out the map, and it's like, whoa. In my neighborhood, in my backyard, now that is not going to be, now that's going to be medium, and that's going to be higher density than it was before and everything. So that's where public can come in and say, wow, it sounded great in theory. I was all for the text, sounded good. But on the ground, the map, I'm not okay with that at all. And we're going to be kind of caught in a trap, the citizens, kind of between a rock and a hard place. We're going to, and it's like, well, everybody was for it and we passed it. We got to put this stuff somewhere. It's either got to go in C1, C2, or C3. And I just feel like it's not really fair to the public. Let's do the map together with the text. And I was a little bit confused about your response because when I talk to planning department, when I look at the video, that's not being done. So I just want to clarify for the next board, for this board, let's get that clarified and done right.
So
God bless. And I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, given this is our last question, I just want to ask the county attorney a question.
Thank you so much.
Tim, about this. Tim, actually, I think that Ms. Kowalski brings up an interesting question. There's two variables in play, the text for each zoning district and then how they're assigned on the maps. And I think what she's saying is if you finalize the text and then don't like how it plays out on the map, you've only have a shot at one bite of the apple. You can only fix the maps, you can't change the text. Whereas if they both come out at the same time and somebody doesn't like the fact that the BNR turned to C2 behind them, now they got two different avenues for getting it fixed. They could argue it should be C1, not C2, or they could argue that with C2 would be acceptable if only you made the maximum building size this rather than this. And therefore, it kind of deprives the citizens of the knowledge they need to know whether they should even go after the text.
No, that's why when this will come out on our website, there will be that map. And the map you can go to see where anything has changed too. There's also you loved it, the decision tree that was out there that shows if you were this before and these are the conditions you met, this is what you're going to change to. So you can go on that map, you can find your house, you can go to it and say, okay, the property behind me was business neighborhood business, whatever, now it's changed to C2. You can see that. You can see it before any of this stuff gets adopted. That's why all that stuff is out there.
I mean, that's fine if it's right, but the premise is that the updated maps will
right.
be available online before the text is finalized.
So
yes.
I believe it was Mr. Clark Schaefer that raised this concern in public comment back at that time. And the discussion we had was that while they were going to start with the text amendments to get the language cleared up, that nothing would be implemented without the other. In other words,
right.
that preparation would be done, a draft of the map would happen, that would go out to the public for discussion, but they would be implemented, they would be enacted at the same time. His concern was if you have 2 points of reference, which one do we follow?
Exactly.
Which is a slightly different argument than what Ms. Kowalski's saying, but there's two sides kind of to the same issue. But I believe that we were clear, and I understood staff to be clear that they're going to get the text out there, a corresponding map, and nothing gets implemented until everything gets implemented.
Nothing gets voted and approved.
Until everything
Until
does.
both are approved.
That's correct.
We shouldn't
Yes.
vote on the text and then vote on the maps. They should both be voted on at the same day.
That's correct.
Okay, then
That's
I
correct.
would be okay with that.
That's right.
Thank
Okay.
Yeah. So that should
Thank you.
address that concern. And to your comment about the decision tree, all I'll say is I just want to make sure this board weighs in, or the next board it will be, but a board weighs in on what those criteria are. That's just not made in sort of an administrative nature. There's actually a conscious decision as to what determines what moves someone from one to the other. I'm just trying to bolster you up for the next 4 years, Commissioner Frazier. So.
Okay.
But
Any other public comment?
No other public comment.
All right. Then let's move on to closing remarks by Commissioner Howard.
And I'm assuming I'm
Start-
turning the clock off.
Start at 3 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, just add a 0, Tim, if you would. That would be awesome. All right. And I actually put together my remarks so that I will stay on track. Mr. President, fellow commissioners, county employees, and citizens of Carroll County, I appreciate having time this afternoon to reflect on what we have done together over 8 years, to share some concerns, to thank some people, and offer a few parting thoughts as the county readies for the transition to the 61st Board of County Commissioners. In many ways, time has flown. It is hard to believe that when I was sworn in, my youngest son was 7, and today he stands notably taller than I am, which I understand is not a huge accomplishment. I am proud that the 59th Board was the first board of 5 commissioners by district. As president of the board for the first 3 years, I had the awesome opportunity to help define how we govern, develop new processes, and shape this and future boards. We started on day one, with our 10 governing principles, and to those we stayed committed. Starting our meetings with a pledge and a prayer, term limits, tax reduction, property rights, economic development, and straight talk all became the hallmark of how we have governed even up to today. After some heated discussions, I suggested we add Positively Carroll as a way to focus not only on the difficult and the divisive, but also on the good happenings in our community, and that has continued to be a regular agenda item. Together, over 8 years, we have done quite a bit. Commissioner Rothschild mentioned many of these items on Tuesday. This is what I recall. We started with the transition to the sheriff's office for law enforcement. We stopped the incinerator project. We fought for the right to pray at meetings. We fought against Planned Maryland and the rain tax. We partnered with our municipalities, including on major and challenging things like the MPDES projects. We built Mount Airy Middle School. We passed a county master plan that strongly recognized property rights. We invoked the right place and the right time as our economic development message and had an unprecedented period of time of economic development progress due to the great work of that department and our director there. We significantly reduced county debt, we reduced taxes 3 times, and we finished our term with a AAA bond rating. During that period of time, we had the creation of various advisory groups, the Solid Waste Advisory Group, a Business Advisory Group, the Combined Education Committee, the Long-Term Advisory Council, and the Veterans Advisory Council, all using citizens to bring ideas to the table, not high-priced consultants, but people that were invested in our community, and they have served us so well. During that period of time, we also had the opportunity to lead the fight on some controversial issues, things where we really could have gone either way as a community. The idea of increasing school funding and not pursuing a path of maintenance of effort, leading to things like teacher raises and the resources that we put into schools, was something that today seems just part of the discussion, but back early on was pretty controversial. The airport expansion. We were on, and then we were off, and then back on again. And we know the challenges and the discussions that went into that. And even the Public Safety Training Center in its first iteration only passed by a 3-2 vote, and it really required us to hash some things out in those early days. I also had an awful lot of fun and take probably the most pride in things that we had the ability to initiate. Things that weren't here, but we created. The opportunity to implement E-Verify for our county contractors, Celebrating America and the Summer Explorer program, Carroll 2030, as we saw earlier today, a new website, a marketing campaign, the Small Business Loan Program, Not in Carroll, our effort against drugs, Sunday hours at libraries, our veteran services officers that have garnered more than $10 million in benefits for our Carroll County veterans, and the Veteran Shuttle that we aptly named Mad Dog after Mad Dog Sater, who inspired that effort. And those that related specifically to my district, things like the extension of Dickinson Road. I would never have imagined early on how difficult it was to get those last 30 or 40 feet of road done, but it was a big deal. Stop signs and traffic issues, transition of the Carroll Town Mall, projects with the town of Sykesville, the Warfield project, and last but certainly not least, the Freedom Plan. All in all, I believe that together we have accomplished a great deal, managed through some challenging times, met the needs of our community, and did it in a fiscally responsible way, leaving the county in a strong position moving forward. With the ability to take on these challenges and move the county forward, that rests largely on the extraordinary people that we have chosen, to work for Carroll County government. From time to time, you hear the names: Zaleski, Kay, Frock, Burke, the other Burke, Castingway, Campbell, Ripper, Deggetts, Devilbiss, and yes, Lyburn. They are very talented, committed, and hardworking folks that lead the day-to-day workings of our government. To me, their names should be emblazoned on the backs of shirts and should be recognized as an all-star team of county government, the very, very best in the state of Maryland. Pulling all this together was the exceptional team that supports the county commissioners directly. The entire staff contributes in ways big and small to keep our office moving productively. Roberta Wyndham started at the county as my administrative support and quickly demonstrated that drive, talent, and leadership skills that make her an excellent county administrator. Chris Weinbrenner works each day to improve the dialogue between county government and our citizens and has the challenging task of communicating what we do in a way that is anything but boring. And Vivian Daly, who has worked by my side, coordinated programs, and my crazy schedule, making sure we got to it all. Ladies, I could not have done a fraction of what I did without your support and your talent and your hard work. Now, not surprisingly, I have some areas of concern, some of which might be slightly controversial. I am very pleased that Governor Hogan was overwhelmingly reelected. He is moving Maryland in the right direction, and his efforts should be strongly supported. At the same time, the governor's relationship with Carroll County must be stronger and more direct in the next 4 years. Our board president should have the level of contact and access enjoyed by county executives in other counties. And it must be recognized by the governor and his administration that it is Carroll County government that speaks for the county, not our state delegation. The accountability of laws, staffing, budget, and consequences rests with the Board of Commissioners, and that's who should be communicating the needs and our priorities. With regards to our delegation, those that reside in Carroll and those that represent just a small portion, we need our county priorities, as identified by the Board of Commissioners, to drive the legislative activity and focus of the Carroll County delegation in Annapolis. The days of picking and choosing certain initiatives that are politically expedient or easier must end. The days of success being defined by making bad legislation less bad must end. Our delegation must balance their excitement of being part of Team Hogan in Carroll with remembering their primary role is to represent Carroll County as a whole in a hostile legislature. Those that want to criticize, second guess, or even interfere with the work of county government with no accountability for the outcome should be more focused on building support for the initiatives we need. They should govern themselves with the same standard of open meetings held in the county, 2-term limits that they have supported for other folks, and we should never encourage anybody to be serving a 3rd or 4th, and certainly not a 5th term. I will say that one shining star in our delegation is Senator Justin Reedy. Senator Reedy is always engaged, open to new ideas, and willing to bring them forward. We did not always agree, but even with caller ID, he took many of my calls, heard me out, and worked collaboratively to enhance our causes. He is the strength we should lean on and will be a fixture in Maryland politics for a long time to come, in my opinion. Citizens should be wary of county, state, local officials that tell them they can have it all without cost or consequence. Some of the community challenge we have are grounded in the fact that arrogance or inability or unwillingness to be honest and straightforward with the community has caused some challenges. The death knell for North Carroll High School was sounded when the first shovel dug in to build Manchester Valley, and even today, good options that could save that property that are being worked on very difficultly, possibly the building and enhance the community, are being squandered by those that are clinging to false hope. I think it is time to put the ownership of that building in the hands of the town and contribute a comparable amount to what it would cost to demolish it, some $1.5 million for something we don't want to see happen, to help the town find a real solution that meets their needs and let them make the decision. I strongly believe that as reality sets in, a real solution will be found. And we can only hope that such reality finds its way to the Board of Education. I am very encouraged that some of those elected and some already there have the ability, perspective, and stated goals of making the Board of Education more focused on student achievement, less dependent on standardized testing, more efficient in its operations, and more transparent in its work. The real question is whether or not they will truly take action in those areas. Carroll County Public Schools are very good, but they have been in decline because of a top-heavy administration that gives too much deference to the unions, the state of Maryland, and educational organizations. Our system simply must derive its mission from the citizens of Carroll County and embrace those strategies that enhance student achievement, stop being the arbiter of community issues, and deliver the very best education in Maryland within our financial boundaries. And yet, even with these concerns, I believe the future of Carroll County has such tremendous potential and will continue to be bright. In fact, I believe we might well be that shining city on a hill to which Ronald Reagan often referred. Going forward, we will rely on the 61st Board to build on the foundations we have established and bring Carroll County to new heights. Education must remain a priority. The new board should seek to quickly bring the Board of Education and the delegation to the table before union negotiations are done and before the legislative session begins. If the Board of Ed overcommits and there is no additional state funding, there will only be one place for the difference to rest. As the county funding for local schools approaches 60%, the conversations must bring a measure of reality to all sides. To that end, there should be a commitment by the Board of Education to line up facility needs with the county capital plan. Pretending there is money when there more money than there actually is and asking for the moon gets in the way of setting true priorities. The discussion about buildings and budgets must give way to a community-wide discussion about improving school performance. Infrastructure must also be a priority. The cost of maintaining all of the buildings, roads, facilities, and other obligations is very high. The County Office of Budget and Management is working diligently on a break-even number, essentially what we need to be doing each year in infrastructure just to maintain what we have. I encourage them to bring that analysis, even if it is still broad in measure, to the next budgeting process and continually measure our progress in this area. The scourge of drugs in our community must also remain a high priority. Our initial Not in Carroll effort to dissuade drug dealers from setting up in Carroll County as a safe place to sell drugs was met with extraordinary effort by our state's attorney's office, the sheriff's department, and related agencies. In later years, this effort was expanded to more broadly support treatment and education. We must commit whatever resources we can to this effort. The tragic loss of life impacted almost every family, and the community problems that result must make this one of our top efforts. This year, the budget debate, to my discredit, wrongly got lost between the issue of this and ag preservation. Next year, as we did some years ago, I would strongly encourage to take an amount off the top to make of available funds before the remainder of the budget is funded. This is a fight we must continue to fight. It should also be a priority to stay committed to long-term planning. So much of what the Board of Commissioners does year in and year out has long-term implications for the community. My first effort, Carroll 2030, brought some very interesting information and trends to light. Those that participated did an amazing job to give us a long-term picture, agency by agency. Our most recent effort, the Long-Term Advisory Council, had similar participation from community leaders and brought out important considerations for the next board. It is unfortunate that LTAC lost some direction as it was let to go down a politicized path. Ironically, that was the criticism of Carroll 2030. And yet it is my strong hope that the challenges of long-term planning in this or in our master planning process, the burden of time and resources, and the controversy it can yield never inhibit us from looking to the future, deciding the direction for our community, and working each day to make that a reality. As Abraham Lincoln said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Finally, I encourage this next board to pursue all of this and more, but with the same fiscal responsibility that we have embraced for 8 years. Stay committed to balancing the 5-year operating plan, something unique to Carroll County. While addressing capital needs, work to keep our county debt low, seek a cost-benefit analysis on not only new initiatives, but the continuation of initiatives as priorities change, look for ways to deliver services in a more lean and cost-effective way using creativity over capital when possible, and make the commitment to avoid any increase in tax rates over the next 4 years and look for opportunities to lessen tax burdens whenever possible. Leaving with a AAA bond rating tells me not only did we get a lot done, but we did it in a fiscally responsible manner. In closing, the most revered words whenever I have the podium, I would like to personally thank some folks and then wrap up. First and foremost, I want to thank my wife, Crystal Weinbrenner. She joined the fray in the midst of a chaotic time and has been a tremendous support. She is tough, vocal, and has demonstrated great talent in her area of transportation that serves so many in need every day. She is amazing. Next, I want to thank my 6 children and 2 stepdaughters. I could not be prouder. With the graduation of my 4th oldest next year from college, we will have 2 teachers, a successful businessman, and a scientist, 1 graduating school, and 3 more in Carroll County schools. I know it was challenging to have me in the Carroll County Times, at your school, or on billboards during your formative years, and yet each of you are thriving in your own way. I want to thank my mom, Edwina Howard, who is 77 and still managing a dozen souvenir stores in Boston, who remains an avid fan of any and all Boston sports teams. On my feistiest days, I am the best reflection of her drive and passion and unending energy. And to my sister Jackie, who is my daily confidant, therapist, and voice of encouragement. They, along with family and friends, have made this journey so much more fun and certainly more successful. I want to thank my fellow commissioners from this board and the last. I believe they have all come to the job with a love for Carroll County and a desire to serve. In days of agreement, we made each other stronger. And in days of debate and disagreement, we made each other stronger. The open debate in full view of the public allowed us to set better policy, and that is what government should be. And I also want to congratulate and extend my support to Commissioners-elect Rothstein and Boucher and wish them the very best. I want to thank many, many leaders across the county and the state that I had the opportunity to work with, learn from, and collaborate. While there are too many to list, people like Mike McMullen, Karen Merkel, Alan K. Betts, Tom White, and especially Lynn Wheeler all offered support, counsel, and guidance, and so I thank you. Finally, I want to thank a man who today is in our midst that has stood by me through it all. From the first days of the first campaign through today, Bob Leatherwood is a 6th-generation Carroll Countyan, a successful businessman, an Eagle Scout, a great political mind, and the most loyal friend anyone could ever ask for. We have had thousands of hours of debate and discussion, and many of my most interesting ideas came from those discussions, though the publicly only saw the refined versions of those ideas. Thank you, Bob. I will miss being County Commissioner for Carroll County and District 5. I have tried to meet every issue with a true focus on what I believe to be best for the county. And while the best of intentions ideas must face the challenges of implementation and reality, there are always things that could have been done better. And yet, I am so proud of what we have done, so confident about where we are heading, and so thankful for all of those that helped. May God continue to protect and bless Carroll County and those who serve her. This will be my last session as Commissioner, but I will always stand ready to serve Carroll County if called upon to do so, as we pursue new challenges and greater heights. There is so much more to do, and our best days truly lie ahead. As George Bernard Shaw wrote and Robert Kennedy quoted many times during his last campaign, some men see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say why not. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Doug, I just want to say, came into this job 4 years ago, ran for county commissioner because the 59th ward, the fighting 59th, I think, I thought We can do better than this as a board, and I want to say one thing. You have helped improve that image, and I think we've gone through a lot over the last 4 years, but it's always been collaborative. I think it's always been something we could discuss, talk about. As you said, we get stronger if we agreed or didn't agree, but the last 4 years have been what I expect the commissioners to act like and how I expected them to behave and the way I wanted things done. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'd just like to say, if I can, oh, you want to go ahead? I just want to say, actually, thank you to both Richard and Doug for the 8 years of service to the citizens of Carroll County. I think you both have done a tremendous job. And I really believe, after working with you for 4 years, that no matter what your decision is, no matter what you're trying to push forward, that you really have the best interest of Carroll County at heart. And I really think that what you're pushing forward is best for Carroll County. And because of that, I do respect both of you greatly. It's not, you don't have your little individual agendas. You go for what you think is the best. Now, we have argued and disagreed many, many times, which is fine. That's one of the reasons we have 5 commissioners. But I think in the end it has worked, as you said, it's made us stronger, but it's made the board work better. And I think we've come up with better decisions because of things like that. So thank you very much for your service to Carroll County. And also thank you for my education as a commissioner. When I first got in this job, of course, I was a councilman for the city of Westminster, but the difference between being a councilman and a commissioner is like night and day. It's tremendous. So I got in here. I asked questions. You were always willing to give me advice. Some of it I didn't really like that much, but but you're always willing to give me advice, and we move forward there. And I do appreciate that. I really do. Thank you both for your service to Carroll County.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Doug, it's nice to say thank you for your speech. Some good words there. It's no surprise you and I have had a love-hate, love-hate, love-hate relationship. But I agree. I think we have sharpened each other like iron on steel. And I think I am a better man because of you, and I hope that you feel the same way about me. And I'm especially appreciative of some of your metaphors, like when you said being a commissioner is like being a crash test dummy. That's a good one. But notwithstanding all of this, I think that the debates that we've had, the low points and the highlights, are a demonstration of what's best in American government. And one of the beauties of the commissioner form of government are these kinds of things all take place out in the open. You get to see the real deal. As Commissioner Howard said Tuesday, he says, you see it happen in real time. This is the real deal. And I think that's government, transparent government at its best. And you get to see men and women at their best, and sometimes you get to see us at our worst, but at least you get to see it all. And most importantly, as we transition power to a new set of commissioners, the most important thing that makes our form of government, our constitutional republic, so unique is the fact, in spite of these differences, I pray that Commissioner Howard and I will leave here as friends.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to adoption of minutes. Looking at the minutes on Thursday, October 18th at 1:30.
I'm going to move to approve.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Is everybody ready on that one?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes of Thursday, November 1st at 1 p.m.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second that one. Is everyone ready on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes of Friday, November 2nd at 3 p.m.
Okay, now you got ahead of me.
Yes.
It's got to be yours.
Which one are we doing?
You were absent on that one, Commissioner.
That was with Secretary Brinkley. I'll make a
Yep.
motion to approve that.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye.
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 And one abstention, I would guess.
Abstention.
Okay.
Abstain. Sorry.
Thursday, November 8th at 10 a.m. Must have been a lot that
Move to
morning.
approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
I'll abstain.
Okay. November 8th at 2 p.m. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain from that as well.
November 15th at 10 a.m.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
November 27th at 10 a.m.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Just cross off that number 11. I'm really good with it. Just kidding. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, move on to agendas.
You just got to get your last kick in, Rich. I'm going to demonstrate Christian charity by not responding.
You know, it's the last meeting. Okay, we're moving on to Monday, December 3rd, 10 a.m., Baltimore County Executive Inauguration Ceremony in Towson with Commissioner Wance.
No, wait, he's not actually being inaugurated, right?
No, he's just going to
Okay,
go
all right.
here to watch it. Yeah.
All right, just want to be clear.
2:30 Access Carol Open House in Westminster with Commissioner Wance. Tuesday, December 4th, swearing-in luncheon in Westminster with Commissioners Frazier, Wance, Weaver, Boucher, and Rothstein. I have to get used to saying those names. At 12 o'clock. And at 3, the swearing-in ceremony at the county office building in the Reagan Room with the same 5 commissioners. On Wednesday, December 5th, Good Scout Award Breakfast at 7:30 a.m. at Pleasant Valley Fire Company, Commissioner Wance and Rothstein. On Thursday, December 6th at 8 a.m., Carroll County Ag Business Breakfast at Balgers with Commissioner Weaver. We'll have to talk about the next item if we leave, though. We'll also have that day, we have a grant award for Woodside Estates Stormwater Management Facility Design. We have request approval to apply for a Land Water Conservation Funds grant. We have a request approval to submit the 2019 Comprehensive Case Management and Supports Planning Services for Medicaid Long-Term Services. We have a briefing on Carroll County unpaved roads. We have, we're going to exercise an option to purchase a Rural Legacy Program conservation easement on the Gwynn property. At 5 o'clock, we have Economic Development Holiday Open House with Commissioners Frazier, Wance, Weaver, and Boucher. 7 o'clock, Catherine's Cause Remembrance Ceremony, St. John's Portico, Westminster, Commissioner Weaver. Excuse me. Friday, December 7th, Carroll County Realtors Legislative Luncheon in Westminster, 11 with Commissioners Wance, Weaver, Boucher, Rothstein, and Frazier. At 5:30, Carroll Community College Starry Night at Westminster, Commissioners Frazier, Wance, Weaver, and Rothstein. Commissioner's report is questionable.
At best.
On Monday, December 10th, at 10 a.m., Mako Immersion Training in Annapolis with Commissioners Boucher and Rothstein. At 5 o'clock, with tree lighting ceremony in front of the Carroll County office buildings, Commissioners Frazier, Wance, Weaver, Boucher, and Rothstein. Tuesday, December 11th, Circle of Caring Committee meeting in Westminster with Commissioner Frazier. At 8:30 a.m. At 7 p.m., we have Ag Board meeting in Westminster with Commissioner Frazier. Wednesday, December 12th, 9:30 a.m., Carroll County Farm Museum Advisory Board meeting in Westminster, Commissioner Weaver. Wednesday continued, we had 2 p.m., Economic Alliance of Greater Baltimore Board of Directors meeting in Baltimore with Commissioner Wance. At 3 o'clock, Chamber Holiday Connection in Tawnytown, Maryland, Commissioner Frazier and Wance. At 3:30, Governor's Workforce Development Board meeting in Hanover, Commissioner Rothstein. At 5 o'clock, Board of Education Board meeting in Westminster, Commissioner Weaver. 5:30, Fort Meade Alliance President's Reception in Hanover, Commissioner Rothstein. At 6 o'clock, Carroll Community College Board meeting in Westminster, Commissioner Wance. And it's a busy day. On Thursday the 13th, we're going to go over release of the FY18 Audit and Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. We have at 12 o'clock Chambers PM Connections. Actually, I'm not going to, that may or may not be there. Just leave that one. At 4 o'clock, CLSI Holiday Open House in Westminster, Commissioner Weaver. At 4:30, Carroll County State's Attorney's Holiday Party in Westminster, Commissioners Frazier, that guy's name, Frazier, Wance, Weaver, Boucher, and Rothstein. At 6:30, the MML dinner in Manchester, Commissioners Frazier, Wance, Weaver, and Boucher. Friday, December 14th, BWI Partnership Breakfast with Controller Fancho in Lithicum Heights, Maryland, Commissioner Wance and Rothstein. At 11 a.m., the North Carroll Senior Center Holiday Meal, Commissioner Weaver. No comments on that. And at 11 o'clock, we have our county holiday potluck luncheon in the Reagan Room. Saturday, December 15, 12 p.m., Reefs Across America program at Deer Park Cemetery, Commissioner Weaver, and 6:30 Town of Hampstead Annual Holiday Dinner in Hampstead with Commissioner Weaver. That's all I have. Anybody have anything else to bring up?
I sent you a brief email this morning on an administrative matter. I would just ask that when you get a chance, look at your email and weigh in. And if you're not certain about my request, perhaps we try it on an interim basis, maybe for 6 months, and see how it goes. And perhaps you could look at that email when you get a chance. I've been busy all day today, and then weigh in by email. It's just a minor administrative matter. If you would please look at that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.